Welcome back to the Scoop College Basketball Podcast for the last episode slash maybe like first real episode of the podcast in a while. And we have college basketball in 14 hours, under 14 hours. I don't know if you can read my watch. It says 8:07. It's 8:08 now. And college
We're
basketball,
closing in.
yes, we're in Central Time. We're in Central Time. So the first game between IU Indy, formerly known as IU PUI last year, and I believe it's IU Columbus. Um, that starts at 10 a.m. Central Time, the best time zone, by the way. Just thought I'd clear that up, but um, they played the first, just like IU PUI slash IU Indy. They played the first game of the year last year too. They must like want to do this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and I swear that like a month ago they were scheduled to tip at like 11 Central Time, and then they just moved it up. Like I don't know if there's any substance to that or if that's just me remembering wrong, but like
They did it last
yeah.
year, like they definitely did. But yeah, will you be watching that game?
Yeah, I've got class at 9:30 and I think I'll keep the computer screen open, a tab on ESPN Plus. I mean, it's hard not to want to turn it on. And then
Yes,
yeah, the afternoon really gets started, I guess. Field of 68 showcase, three really
yes,
good mid-major games.
yes. I'll,
We'll
I'll
we'll
see
touch
if
on some of those later.
yeah, I'll see if I'll be able to watch it. I do have class at 10, so that kind of conflicts. And when I get back from class, it'll be about pretty much time for Charleston versus Southern Illinois. But we'll definitely go with the multi-game setup. So I have to watch a little bit at least of IU Indy, maybe win their first game, known as IU Indy, first game in the Paul Coursero era. That would be. But enough talk about that. We should probably get into the actual content of the podcast. Yeah, just going to be more of a general overview day and of the season, given our All-American teams, awards, our Final Four picks, some underrated, overrated national teams, some breakout players to keep an eye on, and yeah, just some other fun stuff we're going to go through. A lot of the good games in week one as well. So we should probably start this out with our player of the year. Um, Luke, I'll let you have it. Who's going to be the player of the year in the 2024-25 Division One men's basketball season?
There's a solid handful of players I felt I could have went with, but I'm going to give it to Mark Sears. Probably the best returner in college basketball. Again, up for debate, but 22, 4, and 4 last year for Alabama. Alabama, once again, should be very good. Coming off a Final Four run, Sears played a big role in that. Should be the focal point once again. So it's hard for me to go against him.
Yes, I went with Sears as well. I I could have tried to be fun, but like Sears is the best player on maybe the best team. He's gonna be elite this year, so no need to get too fancy with this one. Who is your defensive player of the year?
Defensive player of the year, I went with Ryan Kalkbrenner. He's been like the Big East defensive player of the year for like 3 years running, I think. I'm not too in on Creighton this year as a whole, but I think his impact will be magnified even more so with a couple of key losses. Trey Alexander, Baylor Shireman out the door. Yeah, I think he'll put up probably absurd block numbers. One of the best rim protectors in the country. So
Yes, elite defender at the rim, really guards the rim without fouling too, which is really remarkable how well he protects the rim but doesn't get in foul trouble like ever, which is does allow him to play like 35 minutes game. So that's huge. I went with in a different direction. I went with a guard for my defense player of the year and Tamin Lipsey for Iowa State. Also considered Kalkbrenner. Lipsey was one other guys you probably have to have in your like consideration, elite on-ball defender. Iowa State ended the year first defensively in KenPom. It's probably either going to be them or Houston again. And yeah, just elite defender, someone you don't really want to see guarding you. But
yeah,
yes,
100%.
I do want to give an honorable mention. Um, to a guy we talked about the other day in one of our conference previews, and Gabe Dines. Wanted to just give a little honorable mention in case he is in the chance he doubles his minutes and the blocks double with that. So if he plays like 27 minutes a game, which might not be unreasonable, and if he has 4.6 blocks per game, which would be doubling his 2.3 in like 13 minutes. Like that those would be some crazy numbers. Still not gonna win defense player of the year. Most likely out of the horizon, but the only guys in recent history that have really put up those sort of block numbers are Anthony Davis and Jamarian Sharp. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I mean the trajectory is definitely there. So we'll see if he's able to keep
Yeah.
it up.
We will see.
A fun name to throw out for sure.
Yes. Block numbers were crazy last year. My freshman year went with Cooper Flag. I mean, there's a few good freshmen, but Flag is there's no need to get fancy with this one. Flag is elite. Barring an injury, I don't really see him not winning this, even though there are some other really good freshmen this year. The freshman class is back up. It was down last year, but I still don't see anyone
Yeah.
not named Cooper Flag winning this.
Yeah, I had Cooper Flag as well, but plenty of talented freshmen this year. I don't believe we'll be covering all freshman teams. So like a couple names that could be in contention: Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, Rutgers duo. I mean,
Yes.
I'm wearing the shirt once again, so I had to shout them out. BJ Edgecombe at Baylor
Yes.
should be another high impact guy.
Yes.
Come on, Malawak, Con Knipple at Duke, both
Yes.
should have big impacts.
Maybe
Yeah,
some
next to Flag.
international guys like Kasparis Yakashunas, Yegor Demine, at Illinois and BYU respectively there. So, but at the end of the day, it's probably gonna be Cooper Flag. So yeah, then who did you have as your coach of the year? I'm not gonna lie, coach of the year isn't necessarily my favorite award because I feel like it's just like kind of
Yeah,
go to the best team, but
that's where I went a different route. I went like the coach I think is going to exceed preseason expectations the most. So in my eyes, it was kind of a two-horse race. I ended up going with Sean Miller at Xavier, who I think Xavier's due for a big year. Sean Miller, um, yeah, a well-known coach, obviously been around Arizona, Pitt, Xavier. And I think he has a good team this year and kind of gets the media love when it's all said and done.
yes, he was absolutely under consideration for me, but I just went with a more basic pick. I went with Nate Oates, who's maybe coaching the best team in college basketball this season. Um, I'm really growing in Alabama. Not that I was ever low on them, but I sort of liked them more by the day. And yeah, Oates, if he gets a defense backup, which I kind of think will happen, then like I don't know like who else. I mean, yeah, there's some fantastic coaches, but I kind of went with like the best team
Yeah.
aspect ish.
And and I think that's pretty fair. I mean, especially talking about the defense, Cliff Amoria in really helps the rim protection. I
And it's
did think
yes,
I did think the defense still kind of looked shaky exhibition against Memphis, but obviously missing a large handful of guys that night. Reitzel, Nelson,
yes,
Youngblood probably out till December, January, but he was also missing. So
yes, and right, so an elite defender himself, so that'll be yeah. But Nate Oates is third in defense every other year. This is the year that they will be third again in defense. This is how it works. Like
yeah, once again, we're just using simple math here. Gabe Dines is going to be at 4.6 blocks. Alabama is going to have a top three defense. That's just how things work.
I agree with that. Gotta look at the trends. Gotta look at the analytics. Gotta do some calculations, and that's what you'll get. Alabama's gonna be third defensively in the country. So yeah, those were our awards. We'll move into our full All-American teams. Did first, second, and third team All-American. Obviously we both had Mark Sears on the first team, our player of the year. I had another elite guard, RJ Davis.
Yeah,
Did you have?
RJ Davis is
Yeah.
the next on the list for me as well. I imagine we'll have a very similar first two teams, and then
Yes.
the third, I kind of go with my gut a little more, but
Yeah.
or with
Same.
my heart more than my gut, I guess I should say. But
Yes. I hope we don't match up on the third team because I mean, not too much, but yeah, I definitely took some swings moving down to the third team, but yes. I also have Cooper Flag on the first team.
yep, 3 for 3 so
Are we
far.
gonna go 4 for 4? Would you have Janai Broom?
Yes, sir.
And
And I'll
then
take 5 from you, Ryan Kalkbrenner, my
let's
defensive player of the
go
year.
5 for 5. I
Yes,
don't know if
sir.
that's a good thing or a bad thing. Is there too much group thing going on here?
I mean, maybe possibly so. This is like a 5 I've been pretty locked in on basically all year long, though. I will say, or all off season long. Like 5 very elite returners. I think there's a sixth guy in the mix, but
Would you think
I
that
like that.
six? Do you think the sixth guy is Hunter Dickinson?
But yeah,
Or
I think it's Hunter Dickinson, but I don't know. I think
yeah,
we both hate Kansas more than we should. So
potentially. But yeah, Dickinson. Oh, he was on my second team. Well, we'll see. We'll see how close we can get here. We probably won't go 5 for 5, but we could. Um, did you have Braden Smith on your second team?
no,
Okay.
that's probably my glaring omission from like my all three teams. Like Braden Smith is probably number 16. Yeah, I don't know. It was hard to leave him out, but I wanted
Yeah,
to throw some of my guys on the third team. So that's kind of what I was prefacing earlier.
I can get with that. Who's someone else you have on your second team then?
Second team, first guy on the list for me was Tamin Lipsey, your
Yeah.
defensive player of the year. I'm kind of shaky on it with all the Keyshawn Gilbert love that's been coming out, but I still think Lipsey um, affects the game in so many ways, defensively, playmaking. I do still think he'll get an all American nod when it's all said and done.
Yes, his offensive game only continuing to expand. Could not shoot for anything as a freshman. Developed into a guy that could knock down some shots as a sophomore, and you would only think that would continue to increase. So yeah, I had him here. Another guard I had is Caleb Love for Arizona, a player that some people don't like, but he was an All-American last year. Arizona should be a top 10-ish team, and he should be the leader of that team. Did you have him here?
Yeah, I had Caleb Love's second team, but honestly, he was one of those names I was floating between second team, third team. Nearly left him completely off when I had Braden Smith in discussion, but yeah, I had Lipsy, Love, and then while we're going with the Big 12 guys, I'll just continue on with my Big 12 player of the year in LJ Cryer at Houston. Should have a very big chunk of the scoring load on my preseason number one team. So I think it would be disrespectful to leave him off my All American teams.
Yes, I did not have him here. I was considering it, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I could see it. I'll just need to see how much how much he takes on the scoring, and I don't love it. He's not like good on defense, even though he's on Houston. Like
that's
he's
fair. I mean,
um, and who you have one more guy in your second team, correct?
yeah. How many do you have left to reveal?
I
I
have one
guess.
as well.
Okay.
Who-
I'm intrigued to see if it matches up. I went with Kadari Richmond at St. John's. Um, I just really like what he brings to the table under Rick Pitino. Loves to get out in transition, really good defender, really big physical guard, and I think he can create a lot of mismatches. And the way they played in that exhibition against Rutgers, I think suits him incredibly well. And I think he'll have insane numbers. And the 5 minutes they looked bad, or I guess it was more like 10 minutes they looked bad against Rutgers. He was out out on the bench in foul trouble. So I think big year for St. John's and a big year for Kadari Richmond.
Yes, I did not have him on any of my All-American teams either. Definitely a guy that I would have had no problem throwing on. Really does a little bit of everything around the floor. St. John's is going to be better with him on the floor. Yeah, as we clearly saw, they were just his impact just really bolstered their offense, defense, just everything. And my final member of the second team was Graham Ike for Gonzaga. Should be a dominant post scorer on a Gonzaga team that should have an elite offense and should be one of the elite teams in college basketball. I've kind of backed off them being the number one team, but I still think they're a top three-ish team in the country. BK is elite offensively. Defense might leave something to be desired, but I think he's going to be the number one guy on a really loaded team.
Yeah, I think Gonzaga probably clear top five for me.
Hmm.
Yeah, right on the border with top three, but EK, very valuable player for them inside. I had him on my third team. Um, Kind of hesitant, I guess, just with all of the talent surrounding him. Are one of the are one of those Gonzaga guys going to have enough numbers to get on the All American teams? I ended up going with EK, just because
Yeah.
I kind of needed a big on my third team if I wanted to build it out like that. But Ryan Emmard, Nolan Hickman, Cleat Battle, Michael Ajayi, like there's a lot of talent surrounding EK.
Yes. Absolutely. Moving to my third team though. One guy I had was a guy I believe was your Big Ten Player of the Year in Jackson Shellstad.
Yeah,
We
I think that might be the one guy we're in line with on this third team. That's ultimately who I went with over Braden Smith,
mhm.
last guy on the All American teams.
Yes, I gave both a nod. I think Shellstad's gonna really break out scoring. I think Oregon could be pretty good if they stay healthy. So
Yeah,
the math says they might not do that, but Shellstad is gonna be really good.
yeah. If they stay healthy, Shellstead should have a monster year. Oregon should be good. I think all lines point towards a possible All American year for Shellstead. Maybe like a bit early on the jump. Like I think some people kind of see him in that next tier, but I'm all for riding on the Shellstead train.
Yes, absolutely. Um,
Next guy for me is Zakai Ziegler at Tennessee. Um, this is probably like one of my three or four like my guys type of pick. But Ziegler, I've liked him at Tennessee his whole career. This year, it kind of should be his team. There's a lot of guys out the door that were like that Tennessee mold, like hard nosed defenders. Ziegler obviously is that very good on ball defender, very good creator as well. And I think the offense this year is going to look a lot different. I like Igor Milicic. I like Chaz Lanier as like a spot up shooter type of thing. I think Ziegler creates a lot of opportunities for his teammates this year, puts up some pretty good scoring and assist numbers. And I ultimately have Tennessee as a preseason top 10 team. And I think Ziegler will be the largest reason why.
yes, I did not have him there, so it's another thing we have different. But I respect the pick. I see the vision. One player I have on my third team, this guy had as an All-American last year. Did not really pan out, but what we're going with another round of Aiden Mahaney. We're rolling with it again. I don't even know if he'll start for sure, but like I think he's just in like the perfect situation now. He's really talented. I think he's like the most like go-to score type player on this team. Like I like him more than Alex Caravan is number one option. Um, I guess we'll just see how everything ends up, but I'm like I think this is a year. I was a year early. I was a year early last year. He's playing under the best coach in college basketball. Not that Randy Bennett isn't like very elite, but yes, this is a year.
As soon as you spoke up, I could tell where you were going, and I knew it was back to Mahaney. But yeah, I think it's a good shout. Like the capability is definitely there. You mentioned very talented team, and you're playing for the back-to-back national champions. So
Yes.
next guy for me, another one of kind of my guys. I went with Donovan Dent at New Mexico. Um, I felt I had to get one mid-major player. or I guess more non-power five than mid-major, but guy from the Mountain West, very good last year at New Mexico. His backcourt mates, Jalen House, Jamal Mashburn Jr., both out the door. And I think that opens it up for an even bigger scoring, rebound, assists, steals. He does everything on the floor. So
Yes. Another guy I have, Cooper Flagg, not the only freshman on my All-American teams. I went with Dylan Harper from Rutgers. He is going to be really good. Yes, gotta shout out the Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey shirts. That that that
slam
that's
the
that,
slam
that,
cover shirt. Yeah.
that's a quality purchase from you. I'm
Yeah.
rocking with
It's
that.
I don't
But
know. I put it on for the pod. I might have to wear it to class tomorrow too. It's
you
day one
might.
of college
You
basketball.
you gotta wear it for opening day. How many people at Upper Iowa know who Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey are?
Probably like four, maybe. I
There
don't
might
know.
be there might be a few though, because I feel like all like the casuals still like know some of those guys.
Yeah, I guess, but like I don't know. It'll get the word out on two of the star freshmen in the
How
country.
many people Upper Iowa would you think know who Donovan Dent is?
You're looking at
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
You're probably you're probably not too far off with that one. But yeah, Harper's gonna be amazing this year. I had him third team.
Yeah. So how many guys do you have left
I have
to
two.
reveal? Okay. I've just got the one because I had
All right.
Shellstead, EK, Ziegler, and Dan. So I'll let you go again.
So I'll go with another one of my guys from the Big Ten actually is Owen Freeman. Owen Freeman. Fran McCaffrey pumps out All-Americans. Freeman was really good, super efficient, good on both sides of the ball as a freshman. He's gonna break out again. I am in on Owen Freeman.
I respect it. I respect it. You're big on Iowa this year, and if he has a massive sophomore jump from an
He's
already
going
impressive
to. He's
freshman
going
year,
to.
I can see it.
It's gonna
Last
happen.
last guy on my third team, only the second transfer, or only like one of two transfers on my All American teams. Should be the face of a team that I'm very excited for this year under a new head coach in the state of Kentucky, Terrence Edwards Jr. at Louisville. I think he's going to have a very big year. Louisville just looks like they're going to be a ton of fun this year. Lots of athleticism, lots of versatility, 1 through 5. Um, Great shooters all over the court. Edwards really impressed in the exhibitions as well. So I'm very confident in him being like the number one option for this team, even though there's a lot of talented scorers.
Yes, Edwards clearly a guy that has proven to be a number one option where he's been the past few years on really good James Madison teams. But I have one more guy. I went with a mid major representative, but still someone I think has a chance to be deserving of these awards. This is one of my. Do you know who I'm? I don't know if you know who I'm gonna say.
Which conference?
Mountain West.
I think I know where you're going. If you mentioned him in a podcast we recorded earlier today.
We might have that is Kobe Sanders. Kobe Sanders will be an All-American this year. I've decided I'm like buying like all the stock possible into him.
I think that's a crazier take than the one that you had earlier, which was a first round draft pick. I think a first round draft pick is almost more likely than an All
Oh,
American.
both are gonna happen. He's gonna be an All-American then because he's an All-American, because he's like elite, he's gonna be a first round draft pick. They go hand in hand.
I'll I'll watch it happen.
No, Sanders is the real deal, though. Cal Poly might have sucked. They might have won 4 games all season. One of those might have been against Laverne, who's not a D1 opponent. Not sure what division they're in, but I am like buying Kobe Sanders as much as you can buy someone. He is the only reason Cal Poly didn't lose every game by 50 last year. He can do about anything on the court. can create his own shot, can shoot off the dribble. 3-point shooting isn't all the way there, but it's like he's not a bad shooter. He can definitely someone you still have to guard from there. Can get to the rim, elite passer. He's a 6'8", 200-pound point guard that moves really well. He's athletic. Like what else? Like what is he missing?
I don't know. Just the fact he came from four-win Cal Poly, I guess.
You should look at this. You should
I
look
like
at
the
what he was
take. I
doing
like the take.
nightly. You should look at what he was putting up every night. Cal Poly was not losing their games by that much. Some of them. Yeah, the time okay, okay, look at this. They didn't have him against Hawaii. They lost 80 to 51. They didn't have him against UC San Diego. They lost 86 to 61. And then they lost like UC San Diego by 5 with him in their last game of the season. He is that
Yeah.
good. I'm
I'll
putting all my stock into Kobe Sanders. I didn't even have him first team Mountain West, but I've changed my I've been
that's
enlightened.
that's what I went back to look at. I went back to see where I had him in my Mountain West, and I had him third team, but I feel like that was recorded like 2 months ago. I mean, it was probably what just over 2 weeks ago, but I'm yeah. I I see the vision for like first team all conference in the Mountain West. Um, I'll have to wait and find out about the third team All American status, but
It's happening.
I do like the look.
It's happening. I also shot 87% from the free throw line on almost 200 attempts. He does everything. But anyway, enough talk about Kobe Sanders. I advise everyone to buy Kobe Sanders stock, but shall we move to our preseason Final Four picks?
Yeah, you want to go there? Or you want to finish out like the player talk and go breakout guys, or you want to go Final
We
Four?
we, we could move to breakout guys. Kind of keep the player focused.
Okay,
Um,
yeah,
yes. So yeah, we're doing four high major breakout players and one mid major, if I read your notes correctly.
yeah. That's just kind of the way it shook out. I had a lot of guys I wanted to include, but I'm like, I might as well give some mid major love.
yes.
Well, I'm
So
going for it. So
yes, I'll start with my first selection. I kind of bent the rules here, but I went with all three Arizona guys as one of my selections, and Mo Krivas, KJ Lewis, and Jaden Bradley. Maybe this is an illegal pick, maybe it's not, but I think you have to include all three of them when you're talking about one of them. All guys that should be in contention for major breakouts. Krivas has a really nice touch around the rim. Should get a huge increase in minutes. Was good as a freshman. Lewis is an elite glue guy. Does everything around the court and guy that should get more minutes as a sophomore. And then Bradley is a guy that was playing really well at the end of last year. Former five-star recruit. Should see a little bit of another breakout playing next to Caleb Love in the backcourt in year 3.
yeah, so recalling our Big 12 podcast we recorded the other day, I had three Arizona guys included: Krivas, Bradley, Lewis. But the one guy I had listed above them in the conference was Giselle James at Cincinnati, and that's one guy I chose to carry over to the five breakout players for the
Yeah,
national level. Um, Came off the bench last year. I think there's a chance he starts at the start of this year.
I think
If
he.
not, I think he will be by the end of the season.
I believe he
Very
started
talented
in their
scorer.
exhibition against.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
They, I think it was Ohio State.
yeah, it was Ohio State. He
Yeah,
started that game.
but yeah, very talented scorer going into his sophomore year. I think there's a lot to like about James and Cincinnati in general. So.
Yes. Another player I have moving to the Big East. I mentioned Aiden Mahaney for UConn a little bit ago in my All-American teams. Went with another backcourt guy in my breakout players was Solo Ball. Going into his sophomore year, there's been a lot of hype building around him. Wasn't great as a freshman. Started a little bit at the beginning of the season, but kind of fell to the rotation by the end of the year. But I think he's really going to be good this year. He was good in their exhibition against Rhode Island. Should have the minutes. I'm buying him.
Yeah, Ball is one of the five I had listed. And then I'll move over to the ACC. You took my guy from the Big East. I went with Jalen Lowe at Pitt. I have him as a second team All ACC guy. I think Pitt is kind of somewhat underrated this year, and I think Lowe will have a big breakout year. Him and Ishmael Leggett. I like both of those two. Both had big games in Pitt's exhibitions, so I think the sophomore breakout's there for Lowe. Gets a spotlight now with Bub Carrington in the NBA.
Yes. Then moving to the Big Ten, I had two guys from that conference. One of them being Michigan State big man Xavier Booker. Think he's a guy that was obviously a very highly rated recruit. I think he might have been top five at least at one point in the recruiting rankings. Very, very skilled, but also very raw. Didn't see too much time as a freshman, and as a guy that did do a lot of stupid things when he played, but the talent is there. I think the athleticism is there. I think this is the year that he's going to get minutes, and I think he's going to really start to put it together. Like, I think he'll really progress over the course of the year.
Yeah, I think that's a good option. I had him listed in my Big Ten guys. My final power conference guy though for the breakout players was Silas Demery Jr. for Georgia. I left him off my all SEC teams when we did that pod a couple of weeks ago. I think I probably would change that at this point. Had a very impressive game in the exhibition win, I believe, over UCF. Um, so yeah, that's a guy I'm buying a lot of stock into. Once again, another rising sophomore. So
Yes. My other guy, as I mentioned in the Big Ten, I went with Trey Kaufman-Renn of Purdue. Another guy that I did not have on my all conference teams. Part of that is because the Big 12 has too many teams, too many good players to fit into 15 players. But yeah, Kaufman-Renn should be a very good big man. No Zach Edey there. He's not going to be Zach Edey, but I think he will still be very good. Will be a featured option down low. Has an elite point guard to play with in Braden Smith. I think the TKR breakout is pretty inevitable.
yeah, I would have to agree. And again, one of the guys I had on my Big Ten list. You just got the mid major guy left, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Before that, I do want to give a shout out. Not technically one of my players, but I did throw a transfer, and that's Layden Blocker for DePaul. He's gonna break out. I am like all in on Layden Blocker. It's just like kind of an honorable mention, kind of like the intermission before we get into our final mid major player.
I respect that. I respect that a lot. Um, so moving to my mid major guy, um, it's a guy we brought up in the Missouri Valley Conference preview the other day. It was a guy you were more in on than I was, but you kind of brought me to the light. Um, had a 31-point game in a road victory over Indiana State last year. Once again, rising sophomore, had a couple other games of 20 plus to finish out his freshman campaign. Johnny Kinziger at Illinois State. The Redbirds should surprise a few people in the Missouri Valley. I think Kinziger will be a large reason why. So that's the route I went with my mid major guy.
Yes, Kinziger was very good at the end of last season, and I believe he was the Wisconsin Mr. Basketball the year before, so definitely not some fluke. He is really good, and having it back at Illinois State is huge when he could have been playing anywhere by now, honestly. Like I think if if he's I think he'll show that this year that he can play anywhere in the country. My final guy, the mid major, I went to the AAC, went with Jaden Reed for South Florida. He is going to be really, 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 really good. I am all in on Jaden Reed. Really like the recruiting pickup, and he is an elite passer, shot the ball really well, and I think he'll be the star on this team this year. He
Yeah,
he's gonna
he's got
he's gonna pop.
he's got a good chance to show it too. I believe it's opening night that they open, taking on Florida and Jacksonville. So should be a great test for him right away to prove himself against guys like Walter Clayton, Elijah Martin as
Yes.
the number one option. So
Yes. All right. Shall we move to our final four picks now?
I'm ready for that.
All right. How do we want to do this? Just like go
Um,
one for one.
yeah, one for one. Do you want to save the champion for last?
I'll do that. Okay.
Okay.
So
All
yeah.
right. I'll go first. I guess I somewhat previewed it with my coach of the year pick, Sean Miller at Xavier. I think Xavier has one of the best offenses in the sport this year. Play a very fast pace under Miller. I think all the guys fit what he wants to do. Brought in a lot of transfers. Ryan Conwell from Indiana State, Marcus Foster from Furman, kind of more defensive guy on the wing. John Hughley should be good down low. And then you get Zach Fremantle, Jerome Hunter back from injury. Davion McKnight, second year transfer. He's a guy I almost threw on my All American team for the sake of it. I'm really in on what he can be in year two at Xavier. Um, yeah, I'm just all in on that team, and I think the offense has more than the capability to get hot for 4 games and find themselves in San Antonio.
Yes. One team I had is Duke, the Blue Devils. Obviously headlined by the guy we mentioned earlier, Cooper Flag, but I think this team is far from a freshman team that some people might have the misconception about nationally. I mean, they got some impact transfers. Malik Brown from Syracuse, elite defensive big man. Sion James from Tulane, really good glue connective piece. Mason Gillis, a guy from Purdue that made the national championship game last year. Elite spot up shooter for a four man. And then yeah, Tyrese Proctor back for year three. Caleb Foster back for year two. And then you got all the freshmen. Colin Knippel is going to be really good right away. Uh, Kaman Maluat should be pretty solid. Cooper Flag is going to be one of the best players in the country. And like even guys like Darren Harris can really shoot the ball, so he could see the floor right away. I just really like this everything about this team. I think this is the Duke team that kind of breaks through a little bit more than the past few years.
Yeah, I really heavily considered Duke. My next team, though, I went into the Big 12, a team that I hyped up quite a bit in our Big 12 preview. I went with Texas Tech. Grant McCasland, the guy I thought uh, was my biggest challenge for Sean Miller at Coach of the Year. I really like what he did at North Texas, already showed great signs at Texas Tech. And the makeup of this roster is, yeah, I love it. Elijah Hawkins, elite playmaker, coming from Minnesota. You have JT Toppin, super skilled forward, um, really athletic, really good defender. Had a great freshman year at New Mexico, Mountain West Freshman of the Year. You got Federico, another Power Five big guy in next to Toppin, and then just so much scoring, so much shooting on the wings. Chance McMillan, Darion Williams, Devin Cambridge, Kerwin Walton, Christian Anderson, freshman point guard, getting a little love in the offseason too. I think this team has all the capabilities to make a run, and
Yes.
obviously will be very good on defense under Grant McCasland.
Yes. My next team, another squad from the Big 12, that is Houston. Kelvin Sampson pumps out elite teams year after year. They probably would have made the Final Four last year if Jamal Shed would not have got hurt. Um, I think, I mean, barring any injuries, I think they have a good chance to get there this year. Obviously, no Shed, but Milo Suzan could be a guy that really breaks out, just moving to a little bit of a change of scenery could really improve his offensive game. And yeah, Houston has their big men are gonna kill you in the paint. They're gonna really be aggressive. They just yeah, Kelvin Sampson plays has some elite defensive teams. Emmanuel Sharp, intriguing offensive piece as well. Terrence Arsenault, if he's healthy, should be good offensively. And yeah, like we said in the Big 12 preview, Houston's floor is like a three seed, so I like your chances to beat up on anyone worse than them.
Yeah, Houston's my number one team going into the year. Probably should have put them on my final four, but I like to get fun with the final four picks. Houston was slightly too chalky for me, I guess. So
Yes.
third team, I went.
For mine, just I went with like three elite teams and one like kind of fun team.
That's fair. That's fair.
But yeah.
Next team for me, a team pretty consensus top 10 preseason. I went with Auburn. Janai Brum coming back, first team All American for both of us. Very active both sides of the floor. The 3-point shot has been ever evolving, so could be even better this year. Could be a real factor. Chad Baker Mazara back once again. Um, his ejection 3 minutes into the Yale game is what I think prevented them from eventually beating UConn in the national tournament. But that's another story. Denver Jones, I like second year transfer breakout from FIU, averaged 9 a game last year, pretty good efficiency. And then the difference maker for me is JP Pegues in from Furman. I've heard some good things, some bad things from people from the media just throughout the off seasons. Some people like him, some people don't. I'm all in on Pegues from Furman. Talented scorer, can play make. I think he fits really well with what Auburn wants to do, and it's finally some consistency at the point guard spot for Bruce Pearl. Something he hasn't had since 2019 when they made it to the Final Four. So
Yes. My sort of fun team, if you will, to make the Final Four is Illinois out of the Big Ten. I really like the roster. It's yeah, a roster that I mentioned as like kind of growing on me every day. They did get killed by Ole Miss in an exhibition, so like maybe that's not the most inspiring, but I also really like Brad Underwood to improve on his problems with the team. And yeah, once they get to March, I think they'll be playing very well. Should hopefully be improved by defense on defense by then. And yeah, I mean, I really like this roster. Got the freshman point guard in Kasparis Yakashunis, Kylan Boswell to form a starting backcourt. Tomislav Ivicic was just granted eligibility the other day, so he'll have a 100% full season now in front of him. Trey White, Ben Humerkaus, two really solid transfers I think will be good. Let's see, am I missing anyone? I feel like I'm missing someone.
did you talk about Will Riley and Morris Johnson?
Yes,
I blanked out.
Will
Okay,
Riley
yeah.
is someone I think who could be a will also get better as season goes on. Reclass freshman, but very highly regarded. And Morris Johnson, a guy who should be a solid backup big as well. Kerry Booth maybe plays some backup big. Dre Gibbs Lawhorn, I kind of like as well. I think there's a lot of pieces to like on this team, and kind of trusting them maybe to be that one like four-ish seeded team that makes a run in March.
Yeah, I do like the Illinois pick. Brad Underwood has been one of the more consistent coaches in recent years, and it's a roster that has a lot of new pieces, a lot of young pieces. But I think we talked about it in the Big Ten preview. Like as the season goes on, as we get into March, this team's only going to get better and better. And if they have things clicking, I can definitely see a run to the Final Four. My national champion, though, the team I have dethrone or not de or yeah, dethroning UConn and coming out on top over my final four teams, Auburn, Xavier, and Texas Tech, is Gonzaga. I think Mark Few finally gets his ring. He's been knocking on the door. They've made the last like 9 Sweet 16s, whatever it is at this point. Um, and there's a lot to like about this team. Ryan Emhard, Nolan Hickman back in the backcourt. You add an elite scorer in Caleb Battle from Arkansas and Temple before then.
And
Dusty
Butler.
Stromer, yeah, and Butler. Dusty Stromer, Braden Huff, Ben Gregg, like solid guys that will play solid minutes for this team. I like Dusty Stromer now that he takes more of a backseat to Battle and like I think that's a better role for him. Whereas last year he was kind of thrust into a really big role as a freshman. Um, then you have Graham Ike down low, All American for both of us, and then a very big piece on the wing in Michael Ajayi. Can score, can rebound. The shot creation is really there. Very efficient at Pepperdine, 47% from the field, 47% from three. I think he could be a difference maker for this team.
Yes, Gonzaga is a team I really like, but not quite who I picked for the national championship, and that is Alabama going back to the Final Four, and this time, yeah, they're going to be the team that gets it done, ending UConn's run of two straight national championships, and I think this Alabama team is just a little bit better constructed. I mean, they made the Final Four last year with a pretty bad defense. Offense will be just as elite, if not even maybe marginally better. And I think this defense really improves with the addition of Cliff Omoruye, who is arguably the best defensive big in college basketball. So yeah, there's so much to like about this team. They have my player of the year, Mark Sears. And then yeah, Omuruye, as I mentioned. Let's see, let me pull up the roster. I don't forget anyone. Latrell Wrightsell, elite glue guy, elite defender. Chris Youngblood, once he gets healthy, should be an elite glue guy. I don't know if you want to call him a glue guy, but he's just like a great connective piece. Is going to hit shots, has the size and strength for SEC. Grant Nelson was playing really good in the tournament last year, and if he can continue that, the there's only upwards to go. Got some star freshmen. Darian Reed's probably going to play the most. Aiden Sherrill should also play a little bit. Aiden Holloway coming in from Auburn really impressed me in their exhibition win over Wake Forest. I think he's a guy that could see some minutes, even though it doesn't look like super promising for like a huge path to minutes. Holloway's a guy that I do really like in the future. LeBaron File, another guy in that backcourt that's going to be a really good. Yeah, Houston Millett, another solid player there. Jaron Stevenson, another breakout forward. The team has so many guys. The defense should be better. Nate Oates is one of the elite coaches in college basketball. As I gave him my Coach of the Year award, they probably have the best player in college basketball. There's so much to like with this team.
Yeah, I will say I asked you before the podcast started if you want to do Final Four or Elite Eight. I'll just list my Elite Eight because I did come up with them, and three of them you mentioned. I had Houston, Alabama, Duke in my Elite Eight. I wanted to get chalky, make sure I got a couple picks right, I guess. And then another team I just wanted to give a shout out to. My pick to the Elite Eight was Ohio. I feel like there's always a mid major that pops up out of nowhere, makes a deep run, and I think Ohio can be that this year. All the talk is like Princeton, High Point, Grand Canyon, McNeese State, but I think Ohio could be a very solid squad. Sharif Mitchell back, AJ Brown, Aiden Hadaway, AJ Clayton, a big piece down low for them. And the key to unlocking their success will be Jackson Pavletsky, Iowa State transfer. Really balled out at Wofford his freshman year, so or freshman and sophomore year maybe. But I
Freshman,
think he
yeah.
could be a I think he could be a key for them in a deep run. So that's my one team that kind of under the radar mid major. I could see making a deep run. I don't know if you've got a team off the top of your head. I didn't really prepare you for that, but
Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to think. I might I might have to go with Drake because I think they might have the I'm just like uh, Ben McCollum can really coach. He's gonna
I
outcoach some
see the
people.
vision.
He's gonna outcoach some people. I could definitely see him outcoaching a lot of people to get there. But
That's fair. That's fair.
we'll see
A
if
winner,
the
a winner in every sense of the word.
yes, absolutely. Moving to our underrated teams, I believe that's where we're headed next. I'll just start with my first one, and I think it's a team that we probably both have. It's Louisville.
Okay, yeah, I'm realizing now I didn't put Louisville, but let's talk about them because two of the teams I put are Xavier and Texas Tech that are
Yes.
in my Final Four. So yeah, let's turn the love to Louisville.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, year one of the Pat Kelsey era, I feel like this roster is probably top 25, and then they're not getting as much respect from some. Like, what were they in ACC, the preseason poll? They
Ninth.
were,
I don't know why I didn't include them in my list because I literally have them as a top 15 team in the country and they're ninth in their own conference preseason poll. So
yes, they just have so much versatility, so many good connected pieces. Pat Kelsey's bringing an energy that the program really needs, and the Ville is back. The Revive.
this is yeah, this is a place like you can win. The fan support, it's going to be back game one. They're going to win
Mm,
game one. It's like that game against Tennessee. They host Tennessee on Saturday. That should be one of I don't know a very fun game in week one. One of the better ones in my eyes. Um, yeah, I won't spoil my pick for that one, but I think you know where I'm headed.
yes,
Yeah,
potentially.
a lot to love about this team. Already mentioned
Yeah,
Terrence Edwards Jr. in my All American teams. I could list the whole roster, but it'd take me
yeah,
2 minutes because there's 10 guys that can really impact the game, and almost all of them can shoot the ball very well.
yes. Kashawn Pryor is probably the other name to really know. He's good. Very, very versatile big man. Should be someone you'll want to remember.
Yeah, I guess I already touched Xavier, Texas Tech. So I'll go to St. John's, a team I kind of mentioned um, during the All American teams when I touched on Kadari Richmond. But yeah, Rick Pitino, year two, I think they get back to the dance. They figure things out, and there's a lot of upside with this team. Um, sorry, where was I going with this? Zuby Ejiofor, we already saw against Rutgers. Um, he should have a pretty big breakout year, second year from Kansas. Um, Sim Wilcher, sophomore, another guy I like to break out. And then you've got the duo of guards with Davon Smith, Kadari Richmond. Those two are going to be elite next to each other. RJ Lewis hopefully can take the next step forward. Aaron Scott's a guy I really like at the four, kind of fits everything together. So a very solid
Yes,
team.
yes. Another team I went with who just got a Rostian tweet. 13 hours. 13 hours, by the way. It's officially 9 o'clock. I have St. Louis though as one of my other teams. I feel like they're another team that is getting some national, I don't know about disrespect, but just not enough national respect. As a team I have being a tournament at large if they don't win the A10. And I don't know why other people aren't like catching up. Like Josh Schertz was so close to being an at-large team at Indiana State, and he brought arguably his two most important players. You can kind of argue with that on the fence, but at the very least, two of the three best players, in Robbie Avila and Isaiah Swope with him. Got some probably better pieces around him. Gibson Jimerson's going to be elite with Shirts. Kobe Johnson should be a solid player at this level. The West Virginia, Kobe Johnson, AJ Casey, Josiah Dotzler, some high major down transfers. Clue Anya should be a good defensive forward piece. And yeah, got some other guys back from last year too. Like I think people are just like kind of forgetting how good Shirts was last year. I think this could be a top 25 team. Robbie Avila is a star. I think since it's not at like quite the power conference level, it won't be as exposed physicality, but like
I see the vision.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess I already touched a lot on like Xavier, Texas Tech, St. John's, Louisville. So I threw out one more name just so I could really talk about three teams here. A team that I don't think will make the tournament, but I do think they're still underrated in a sense. Penn State. Everywhere I look, this team is 17th or 18th in the Big Ten, and I just don't see it happening. Like they were decent last year. You bring back Ace Baldwin, who is very underrated apparently because he is an elite defender. He can score the ball very well. He can play make like in the upper echelon of the sport. His playmaking is right up there. Other solid pieces back. DeMarco Dunn, Puff Johnson, Nick Kearns at kicks, and then Freddie DeLeon the fifth from Tennessee adds more excitement to that backcourt. Like I'm not saying this is a tournament team. I'm just saying that they will surprise some people when they're like 8-12, 9-11 in Big Ten play, and not like 3-17. So
We'll see. I do have them last in the conference. I don't really see them being 3-17. They're gonna be a they're gonna be competitive, but we'll see. My next team note is Oregon. Um, a team that just needs to stay healthy. That's just kind of the main point of it. We already talked about Shellstead. He's projected All-American for both of us. Kwame Evans Jr., another rising sophomore to love. TJ Bamba, good shot creating wing. Brandon Angel, super efficient guy from Stanford. Raheem Moss from Toledo. And got a few JUCO guys. Adrian Tracy played at Oregon last year, and Des Lindsey coming in from JUCO. If this team stays healthy, like Nathan Biddle, another guy that needs to stay healthy, but like a healthy team is like probably top 25, and they weren't really getting too many votes, which was maybe kind of surprising to me.
yeah, Oregon's another team that I like that I probably could have included in my underrated teams. Had them second in the Big Ten. So I
Yes.
do I do like that pick for sure. Shall I
Also,
flip us? Oh wait,
I want to shout out Georgia first.
I respect
I'm
it.
starting to really grow on them. They they just need like one guy to really break out, and they have some really good breakout candidates. You mentioned Demery and your breakout players. I think Ace Newell, not a breakout as he's an incoming freshman, but is going to be really impactful from day one. Really like skilled, honestly, just like really good player overall. Blue Kane is another guy that could be a breakout, really like him, and some solid transfers with guys like Tyron Lawrence, Dakota LaFuge, Shane Montgomery, Santos Cyril, incoming freshman, should be ready to play right away due to his physicality. Justin Abson, another transfer elite defensive big man, really underrated player himself. RJ Godfrey from Clemson, good glue forward piece. So there's a lot to like about this team. And I think they're gonna make a tournament. I could see them being top 25 if a few of these pieces really hit, honestly. I see a division.
I see it. I see it. Shall I flip this to the overrated side?
You shall.
Okay, first team, um, going to the ACC, a team that hasn't made the tournament under their current head coach and is getting like top 15 love in some places in the preseason. Wake Forest. I think, like hot take, I think they could very well miss the tournament once again this year. I talked in the ACC preview. I think the loss of Andrew Carr went unreplaced, and he was a very big piece for them. And I think Kentucky fans will figure that out if they haven't already. Um, yeah, Hunter Salas, obviously very talented player. He might will this team to the tournament on his own. Cam Hildreth, another solid returner. Efton Reed, but like I don't know. This team missed the tournament last year. I have reason to believe that they fall short once again, and I'm gonna do it. So we'll start the hot
Yeah,
take train a little early, but I think Wake Forest misses the tournament.
I could see it. I probably have them making it, but yeah, Steve Forbes is kind of that weird coach where you like overachieves, but not enough to like really do anything. It's kind of what he's done at Wake every year. About we'll see. I want them to make it, but I could see them like just missing it again. One of my overrated teams, though, a team I'm haven't been high on the past few years, that's Texas. I think this is probably still a tournament team, but they were ranked a little higher than I think they're truly are going to end up. I don't like the fit of the roster at all, and I'm not sure if Rodney Terry's the guy that's gonna like magically piece everything together.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair. A lot of guys who will want the ball and only one ball on the court, and yeah, as you mentioned, Ronnie Terry, not the most proven coach, I guess, still.
Yes.
Next team for me, I'll stay in the state of Texas. Um, moving to the Big 12, I wrote down Baylor. Um, very flashy offensive team this year. They should be Jeremy Roach, Norchad Omier, VJ Edgecombe. Like, there's a lot of hype surrounding this team, but in the end, I don't know if the defense is going to be good enough for this team to be consistent, especially in the Big 12. I think there's reason to believe this team could be like sixth or seventh in the conference. Um, Depending how much you like Texas Tech, like myself, or Cincinnati. So that's where I'm going. Still, ultimately, probably going to be a top 25 team, but like there's top five love, and I think preseason they're probably more around 15 in my eyes.
I could see it. Um, Went with another pretty highly regarded team from the Big 12. Actually, the number one preseason team in Kansas. I still think they're good. I just don't really see number one. Like, see them more as like the seventh best team. So I guess I'm gonna call them overrated, even though they're like still really good. So yeah, I'm not super in on the defense. I'm not a huge AJ Store guy. Think DeJuan Harris, like some people like love him way too much. Touched on that in a different
Yeah,
podcast, but
the
he
fact
is
that
what
he
he
was ranked as
is.
a top 20 player in the
Yeah,
country, but
that's so insane.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean they're still going to be very good. Bill Self is an elite coach, but maybe I'm just a little lower on some of the pieces, some of the fit compared to the national consensus.
yeah, another team widely loved by the media. I feel like Indiana. I put them in my overrated bunch. Again, if I want to get hot, I would say this team misses the tournament once again. Um, I don't know. Mike Woodson hasn't really overperformed with talent. And I don't necessarily love the fit of this team. I'll pull up the roster real quick while I'm talking, but you didn't really solve the lack of 3-point shooting from last year. Luke Goody, the good shooter you brought in, might not even play that many minutes. Miles Bryce,
Yeah.
Kane, and Carlisle, rising sophomores, didn't shoot that well as freshmen. Maybe they step it up, but you have to bank on that. You have to bank on Mackenzie and Baco becoming efficient from outside as well. And then it's going to be hard to play Omar Balu, Malik Renew, Mackenzie and Baco all at the same time. Khalil Ware could like step out of the paint and hit a mid range shot, whereas like Ballo is kind of grounded within 5 feet of the rim. So I could see this turning south for Indiana.
Yeah. And my last overrated team, probably maybe a little bit lesser caliber than other teams. That's South Carolina. I just don't think they're going to be very good at all. And people are still kind of riding the hype a little bit from last season. I think like this is like going to be not necessarily like bad, but just not very good.
Yeah, I mean the way South Carolina fans were on me for my prediction of what I had them 15th in the
Yes.
SEC. I fall very in line with your take there. I guess I didn't include them, but another team I think will fall back down to reality after a year in dreamland um, last season.
Yes. All right. So should we move on?
Gonna shift the focus to week one.
Yes.
Game picks.
We should do that. Yeah. You wanna start it off, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, I guess we can just forecast the games a little. Hopefully, we can continue to do it week by week, provided we get enough podcasts rolling throughout the season as well. Kind of keep track of the records. But the first game we included, what we have 15, I think. Santa Clara and St. Louis, part of the Field of 68 showcase. 3 o'clock Eastern tomorrow, streamed on YouTube for free, I believe. basically a toss up. Um, at least how I view it. Santa Clara, St. Louis, both kind of trendy mid majors. Josh Hurts coming in at St. Louis. Santa Clara has a large chunk of their core back, and they also get Carlos Stewart back from LSU after he spent a year there. Elijah Mahi, a guy I know Kyle Kerr loves a lot. So I think there's reason for intrigue on both of these teams, and I think it's a very good game to have week
Yes.
one, day one,
Yes.
especially in the middle of the afternoon. So I don't know about you, but I went with Santa Clara in this one.
I went with St. Louis, 1-0 in year one of the Josh Hurts era.
Yeah, I like the continuity of Santa Clara a bit more. I think it may take a little time for the Billikens to get rolling, and it's a big test in their first game. So
Yes. Let's see, what's game two then?
I can keep it rolling. I've got it
Yeah.
all here. So Texas A&M at UCF should be another headline matchup. True road test for Texas A&M. Wade Taylor, a guy who has seen some All American love. We didn't give him that. I don't think he's that level of a player, but Texas A&M has a very good chunk of their core back. UCF, very, very intriguing team with a lot of the guys they brought in. Um, we talked on the fact they may need a documentary showcasing their season all year long,
Yes.
but I went with Texas A&M to get the job done on the
Yes.
road.
I did as well. One of the few road teams I have winning in our opening week pick'em games, but yeah, UCF I just don't trust at all. And Texas A&M I trust enough to beat
Yeah,
UCF. And I think
I
they're the much
yeah,
better team too, so
yeah. Another true road game or true home game, depending what way you look at it. On opening night, Missouri at Memphis. Missouri coming off a awful season last year, going 0-19 in conference games, including the conference tournament. Memphis just kind of falling apart last year in conference play. So two teams kind of trying to bounce back. I went with Mizzou in night one on the road. Um, yeah, just lots of question marks surrounding Memphis, and I do think Missouri's a tad bit underrated heading into the year.
so I agree with your take on Missouri, but I went with Memphis here. Just kind of a game where I lean towards the home team. Pretty even matchup in my opinion.
Another very even game, night one, Ohio State and Texas, two teams that I think bring a lot of uncertainty. Starting off with coaching matchup, Jake Diebler versus Rodney Terry, and then yeah, you've got exciting guards, Bruce Thornton and Michi Johnson on one side. And you've got Tremont Mark, Trey Johnson, Jordan Pope on the other. I ended up going with Texas. Just the uncertainty of Aaron Bradshaw's health. He got cleared for his concussion, but still may not be 100% fit for the game. So I think that kind of takes away Ohio State's rim protection. And if you allow those scores to get to the rim, opens up a lot of things for Texas offense. So
Yes, I went with Texas as well. Obviously, just said they're one of my overrated teams, but I think they're still good and yeah, Ohio State, a little bit more uncertainty about like what some of the players will be. I think we kind of know what everyone on Texas will be. There's just some fit questions, but yeah, I just think Texas is
yeah,
at least right now, especially with the Bradshaw uncertainty, and that's like part of the reason why you would be in on Ohio State. I'm going with Texas in day one.
I believe that one is at the T-Mobile Center in Las Vegas.
Yes, it is
And
in
then,
Vegas.
yeah, going up to Spokane, off campus, I think at Spokane Arena, Baylor versus Gonzaga, opening night, 11:30 Eastern tip off, following the conclusion of
Oof.
Monday Night Football. Not quite sure if I'm going to last for that one, but I'll
I
do
think
my best.
it might be like a caffeine type of morning and staying up to watch it.
Yeah, yeah, or watch first half, record the second,
No,
catch up on Tuesday
no.
afternoon when there Tuesday afternoon when there's nothing on after a full day of basketball. That's how I'm viewing it. But I'm going
I'm
with the
gonna
Zags
watch the
in
whole
this
thing.
one.
Yeah.
My preseason national title pick versus a team I think is overrated. Um, yeah, I just like what Gonzaga brings back and what they add. Khalif Battle and Michael Ajayi should show themselves as impact newcomers right away in night one. And against a Baylor team whose defense I think is not that good, I think Gonzaga might score upwards of 90 in this one.
Yes. Going with Gonzaga as well. Got the home court-ish advantage, and yeah, the better team either way. But if it was at Baylor, I might consider a toss-up.
Yeah, and another true home, true road game. UNC at Kansas, one of the bigger games. I believe this one is Friday night in Allen Fieldhouse. I went with the Jayhawks. Um, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not too in on UNC. I think Hunter Dickinson should feast against whoever the Tar
Yes.
Heels send out
Yes.
against them. So
Yep, I agree. Same reasoning.
yeah,
Kansas gets opening week win.
yeah. And then another game I threw out Santa Clara making their second appearance in this one. Maybe not the greatest game up to the standards of the past few I listed off, but Arizona State and Santa Clara on a neutral floor. I went with Santa Clara.
Santa
I
Clara.
think they'll start
Yep.
off 2-0,
Yes.
especially
I think
after what happened to Bobby Hurley's squad against Duke.
yes. Arizona State is a disaster. With the continuity of Santa Clara, I think this is a game that they win. I feel pretty confident about that.
Another neutral site game, New Mexico and UCLA. Two intriguing teams in my eyes. I think UCLA, well, they're my preseason pick to win the Big Ten, so I think they're a bit underrated. I do think New Mexico's a bit underrated as well, but should be a very good game. That I have UCLA coming out on top.
Yep, going with UCLA as well. Just think they're a little bit better of a team. So yeah, but both those games, by the way, are in Las Vegas.
Okay, that's kind of what I figured. I guess most of these West Coast teams when they get together on a neutral site, they head to Vegas.
Yes,
Um, Going back to Louisville, talked about this game a little bit earlier on. Tennessee at Louisville. I believe it starts off the action on Saturday, first Saturday of college hoops. Tennessee going into the KFC Yum Center. I really like both these teams, but I think in front of a very energized home crowd, the first big test for Pat Kelsey's Louisville team, I think the Cardinals get the job done.
I agree. I have them winning this game. I think also like the exhibition results from both teams would kind of indicate that Louisville is more than capable of doing this. I feel like they've looked really good. Tennessee has not exactly looked amazing so far. Losing to Indiana, not like that result really means that much, but Igor Milicic hasn't looked too good yet. Dubar barely played. I think Louisville just is. I mean, I don't necessarily think they're better, but they're at home. They're gonna win this. The crowd's gonna be behind it.
Yeah, Dubar only played like 5 minutes in the exhibition. Like he might not even be a part of like the real Tennessee rotation,
Yeah.
which is kind of intriguing to me, I guess, for a guy that got quite a bit of love in the offseason. I guess I was more in on Milicic, but going
He's
back
not
to
good
Las,
either, though.
I I think I'm
He'll
still
figure it
in
out.
on
He'll
him.
figure it out, same. But like,
Yeah,
yeah, he also
going
scored
back to
zero in their secret scrimmage.
yeah, I mean, not the greatest game, especially when I'm over or calling Indiana overrated. But back to Las Vegas, Memphis at UNLV. I think the running Rebels get the job done. I think Memphis starts 0-2. Deion Thomas should make himself known to the national media this year. I guess somewhat did last year as a freshman, but the casual fan may not know his name yet, but definitely will this season.
Yes, I have UNLV as well. Should have a huge home court advantage. And yeah. you mentioned D. Thomas Jr. is going to be an absolute star this year. Memphis probably the better team, but I got the home court advantage taking over here.
Yeah, and then next game, um, Arkansas against Baylor. This one is in
Dallas.
Dallas at American Airlines Center, home of the Dallas Mavericks. I like Arkansas in this one. Um, yeah, a very good schedule for Scott Drew's team opening week. I respect it going to Spokane to play Gonzaga and then Dallas to play Arkansas like 5 days later. So I think it might end up being a rough first week for the Bears though.
Yes, I have Baylor bouncing back, going 1-1 with the win over Arkansas. I'm in on them a little bit more than you are, so I think this will still be a very, very good game, though.
Another game in an NBA arena in the state of Texas. I don't recall the arena the Houston Rockets play in, but
It's Toyota
Toyota
Center.
Center. Okay, yeah. Auburn taking on Houston, two top five teams in my eyes, but my preseason number one, Houston, I think gets the job done. Um,
Yes.
yeah, just great defensively. I think they can shut down Auburn's attack.
Yep, I got Houston as well. Again, more or less a home game, even though it's technically neutral site. Yeah, Houston's slightly better team, and yeah, we'll have more of the crowd advantage.
Going back to the Mountain West, Washington under Danny Sprinkle visits Nevada, going back to a conference foe from last year. Um, Great Osibor, headline guy for Washington, the rumored $2 million NIL package. And then a guy you love in Kobe Sanders at Nevada, kind of the headline players on either side. I went with Nevada, home court advantage. And I think it's two very similar teams overall, looking at the national landscape.
Yes, I chose Nevada as well. Again, yeah, pretty similar. And when you give the home court advantage to one team, probably going to pick them a majority of the time.
And then capping off the opening Saturday of college hoops, Boise State visiting San Francisco. I went with the road team in Boise State in this one. I really like the front court, Tyson Degenhart, Omar Stanley back, and then you insert a couple of talented guys in the backcourt, Alvaro Cardenas from San Jose State, Chris Lockett Jr., redshirt freshman, I think will have a big impact right away from night one, and then Javon Buchanan from the NAIA level. I really like Boise State, and I think they pick up a big road win in week one.
Yes, I do think Boise is a better team, but I am going with the home team as well here. Going with the Dons to pull off the week one victory. I don't know if you call it an upset. I guess we'll see what the lines are and stuff. But yeah, going with San Francisco, very good backcourt. Marcus Williams, Malik Thomas, Ryan Beasley. Got some other intriguing pieces all over the roster. And yeah, it's at their actual home arena, not the games that they play at like the Chase Center. If they played the Chase Center, I'd probably pick Boise State, but since it's at the War Memorial Center or whatever it's called,
Yeah,
we're
the
rocking with the
little
Dons.
high school type gym that they have
It's fun. I watched like
creates a
so
very good
many.
advantage.
Yes, I'm very, very familiar with that arena. Watched like every game there in their last Todd Golden year. So,
Yeah. Final game that I brought to selection for us, taking place in Greensboro Sunday afternoon. Kind of the only headline matchup in a day filled with NFL games. Michigan taking on Wake Forest. I went with Dusty May's squad getting the job done. Um, and a neutral game, but I don't know, pretty close to a road game for them. I like Michigan overall. Again, I talked about Wake Forest. I think they're a little overrated. Um, and yeah, I really think Danny Wolf, Lad Golden can give Wake Forest uh, front court a bit of problems. And I like Ruben Jones to kind of shut down what Hunter Salas wants to do.
yes, I do like Dusty May in year one at Michigan, but I am going to go with Wake Forest here. Essentially, a home game for the Demon Deacons. So yeah, rolling with them. Two teams that are somewhat even nationally for me as well. So yep.
I guess that's all the games I've got. Yeah, do you have any like fire hot takes you need to get out of your system before
I don't
college
think
basketball tips
so.
off tomorrow?
I don't know. Do you have anything? Maybe I'll think of something if you say something.
I mean, I kind of talked. I had 9 of them written down, but I kind of mentioned them throughout the pod. I'll just list them off. A couple of conference winners: Xavier winning the Big East, UCLA winning the Big Ten, um, and then I think Texas Tech finishes top 3 in the Big 12. That's one of my hot takes. Would take quite a bit to get there. Arizona, Baylor, Iowa State, Kansas, Houston pegged above them preseason, but that's a take I like. Gonzaga winning their first national championship. Talked about that. Um, Wake Forest, Indiana, both missed the tournament. Another one of my hot takes. St. John's and Ohio reached the second weekend. There's the mid-major love plus the Rick Pitino love, and then final one I haven't covered yet. Discussing the back-to-back national champions. I think UConn loses in the Sweet 16 or before.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have anything off the top of my head, but yeah, I there's some fun hot takes at the very least. So
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how well they fare come the end of the season. But overall, I'm just excited to watch some college basketball tomorrow. I don't know if I'll leave my room when I get back from class.
yes, it is. It is about 9:30 right now. We have 12 and a half hours. We're getting close.
Yeah, I mean it's almost there. It's a sleep in a couple hours away at this point.
Yes, we're so close to the season. So yeah, appreciate everyone for tuning in to our college basketball preview podcast. Yeah, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube and whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. If it's not YouTube, make sure to turn on post notifications on YouTube. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Hoop Scoop Media and on Twitter/X, same handle. Be sure to follow Luke at College Hoops Outlet on Instagram, CHO Talk Sports on Twitter. And yeah, we will see you probably next week for another one of these podcasts. Still have to figure out exactly what we're going to do, but
We'll
maybe
figure it
maybe
all out.
next week. Maybe next
There'll be
week.
real games to talk about, which is
Yes.
very, very exciting after
Yes, yeah. The next time we see you, we'll
talking
have
about
like
it.
results to
Yeah.
talk about. We can actually like make observations and all that fun stuff. So yeah, until next time.